The part that we are making next is called the background. You already have your horizon line on this gray sheet of paper. So that shows us this area is going to be the table that our cupcakes are going to sit on, and this part is going to be the wall that is behind the table in the same room wherever these cupcakes are. For this background, we are going to be using a different material. We're done with our paints now. This time we're going to be using chalk pastels. This is a fancy way of saying we're going to be using chalks. So you will need to find a box of chalks like this, and you will need to take it to your work area. Now, we are not going to be just coloring with chalks like you would with a crayon or a marker. We're going to be using these chalks in a different way. We're going to be using the side of the chalk. So I could draw with this and it would make lines and I could color the normal way. Or I can lay it down and I can rub it on the paper and it's going to give me a different kind of look. I want you to take a moment and practice what I'm talking about. So turn your paper over to the back. This will be the side that has your name on it. And I want you to just draw a line. Okay, this is the normal way of using chalks for drawing or for coloring. But that is not how we are going to use our chalks this time. Place your chalk, just lay it down on your paper. It'll be laying on its side. And now you're going to just grip it and drag it along the paper. Practice that a couple times. Very often, when you take a piece of chalk out of the chalk box, it will be really dirty on the sides. And so you might need to get just a piece of scrap paper, look around for the stack, and lay it on its side. And just make a few strokes until it looks clean again. It's like you have colored an area, but you really just made 3 strokes. Coloring this way is a lot faster. Plus, it gives us kind of a neat texture instead of just a solid pink or blue or whatever. And plus, look at all that dust. Look how messy that's going to be. When we color like this, we're getting a cool texture. We're using a lot less chalk, so we have a lot less mess. This is how we're going to be using our chalks for the rest of this project. If you get stopped because it's cleanup time and you don't have time to finish this video, you cannot put this paper with chalk on it inside your table folder. This chalk will get smeared all over everyone else's artwork, and whatever designs you have made might get smudged too. So if you have to stop before the end of this video because it's time to clean up, put this paper on the drying rack instead of in your folder. Got it? Good. Now, since using chalks is messy, even when you color correctly and you don't have all that chalk dust, you're still going to come away with some on your hands. So, for the time being, while you're using chalks on your background, you need to have a wipe. And you can wipe your fingers on this anytime you need to. You can wipe up the desk area if it gets dusty. 1 wipe per day. So do not throw it away and get another one and another one and another one. 1 per day. And if it takes you more than 1 wipe, if one gets completely filthy, then that means you're doing something wrong and you need to come ask me what's happening because I need to straighten you out. It is not going to be, coloring this way should not make a tremendous mess. All right? So go grab a wipe and let's get started. Psst. Here's a tip. For this next section of making the wallpaper, watch all the way to the end of the wallpaper before you get started. There's a few ideas at the end you might want to see before you work. Now, your job is to color the wall differently than you color the table, because obviously we don't want our wall and our table to look alike. We want to be able to tell which is which. I'm going to start with the top, the wall section, and I'm thinking about wallpaper. Sometimes in people's houses they have stripes wallpaper or something with lines or designs on it. Sometimes it's solid, sometimes it's just painted all one color. You get to decide what your wall looks like, and here's how we're going to get the color on there. I'm going to choose 2 colors, and I want to choose colors that go together. And when I say go together, I need to remember the frenemies. Now remember, the frenemies are pairs of colors that cannot mix together. They look nice together, they're friendly, side by side, nice. However, when you mix them together, they become enemies and it turns into a disgusting shade of bleh, brown or gray. So I'm gonna choose blue and yellow because I know what happens when I mix blue and yellow. I get green. It might not look green on this paper, but it's not gonna turn brown or gross, so I know I'm safe. I'm gonna start with one color. I'm gonna start with yellow, and I am going to color my whole background. Now remember, we're laying our chalk down on the side, and we're just making strokes. And when I do this, it should be done. I should be across the paper pretty quick. It's actually a good thing that you can see some of the gray paper through, and you'll understand why when I show you the next thing. All right, I'm just gonna make sure I have everything. Now I'm gonna switch to my second color, and I'm gonna do the same thing right on top of that. It does look green. So this gives me a cool blended look. Way cooler than if I just colored the whole thing one color with my chalk. In fact, I can even still see some of the gray through there. That's kind of cool too. Now, I'm gonna put stripes on this. So far, this is kind of an overall look. I'm gonna find another color, something that's not gonna turn gross if I mix it in. Let's go with another cool color because I know the cool colors all go together. I've chosen purple, and I'm gonna do some stripes for like a stripe wallpaper look. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do the same exact thing, except not all over. I'm skipping a spot so that I have striped background. I think I'll do one more. Now, for just a minute, I am going to use the tip of my chalk and draw some regular kind of lines. And I'm going to do this on each side of my fat purple line, just to make it stand out a little. Whatever you do here in your background, you want to keep it simple. You've worked really hard on those cupcakes, and you don't want to be gluing them onto something that is really more interesting than the cupcakes, because you want people to look at the cupcakes, not the background. So I'm keeping it simple with just straight lines. Very simple. Now, I'm going to do one more hard line. I'm going to use this purple again. You could use whatever color. And I'm going to trace that pencil line because pencil lines look unfinished. And I want this to look finished. So I'm just going to trace over that. Before we go on, I wanted to show you a couple of different styles of backgrounds. You do not have to do just all vertical stripes like I did, although that's fine if you want to do that. You could do the opposite and make horizontal stripes instead. You could, on this one, I have kind of crisscrossing stripes, stripes that are some vertical and some horizontal. If you do this though, you might want to skip the outlining because it will make it a little bit too complicated in the background. And remember, you want your background to be a background. You want people to focus on the cupcakes, not really the wallpaper. And then same goes for this one. This one is kind of a zigzag. Again, easy to go overboard because it's fun and it's creative, but don't let your background become too interesting. Keep it simple. Do a good job because we don't want it to be messy either. So think about what style you want for your background, for your wallpaper, and does not have to be just up and down stripes. You can be creative, but keep it simple. Now, rewind the video back to the beginning of the instructions for the wallpaper. This time, since now you have a plan, you will work with me on your paper. When you're finished with the wallpaper, then you need to bring it to me, check in, so that I can see how you did. I'm going to give my hands a wipe because I'm going to be changing colors. I'm not going to use any of these same colors because I want my table to be very different than the wall. So I'm going to switch to red and pink, get something else on here. I'm going to do the tablecloth the same way that I did the wall though, but since my wall has a nice bold stripe, I'm going to keep my tablecloth very simple. In fact, since a table goes horizontal, right, that way our food doesn't fall off, I'm going to make my strokes horizontal this time. So I'm going to use my chalk the way I showed you. And I'm going to make my strokes side to side. Having the direction going this way is also another good way to make this part of our paper look different than this part of the paper because the lines are going different ways. Switching to my pink, and I'm going to do the same thing. Second layer, just like I did with my blue and my yellow. And this time I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to do any designs or patterns since I have such a large design over there. In fact, I'm going to show you one more thing that you can do if you want to. You do not have to do this. This is a choice. I'm going to do a little bit of blending with my blending tool here, which is my fingers. I'm going to make sure that I have just my red and my pink. My hands are dirty. I need to wipe them off. And I'm just going to do some rubbing with my fingers. And this will kind of blend my chalks together and kind of soften it up. Kind of rubs the dust into the parts of the paper that don't have any chalk yet. I still like how it looks kind of splotchy. I like that, but it's a little bit smoother and softer now. But be careful, you do not want to do the finger rubbing if you have a design. It'll just ruin your design. So I'm just going to rub that because I know I'm not doing any designs there. Now, there's one more thing that you need to do before this section is done. Hi, I'm over here in front of the doors on the red carpet. I'm on the ground. And this final step of this chalk part of our project is we have to spray the chalk so that it becomes not so smeary, because if I put that in my folder, it's going to get those colors all over everyone else's artwork, plus my design might get smudged. So we're going to use this can of Aquanet hairspray, which you will have to get from me, and after you're all finished with all of your chalk, you are going to spray your whole paper with this spray. Lay your paper down on the carpet. You can also do this on the carpet at the steps. This has to be on carpet. And you're just going to spray it down. You don't want it to be soaking wet, but you do want it to be pretty wet. So here, I'll show you. Okay, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's pretty wet. And then you're going to just leave it. Don't pick it up like I did. Just leave it on the carpet, walk away, bring me my can of spray back, and then this part of the project is finished until that dries. It won't take very long, maybe 5 minutes. So check on it in 5 minutes, see if it's dry, and then get the next video.